We're going to discuss something that I'm confident no one's ever discussed clearly before, because the world is not a spiritual plane of beingness, and all who are spiritual understand what's being said. It's a materialistic plane, and it's not part of heaven or God or eternity. It's a temptation. We're going to discuss how you pass through the temptation in your daily walks and times and experiences. It's very, very, very profound, and the reason people don't understand how to use their gifts and their powers, the siddhis that they're called in S-I-D-D-I-S in Sanskrit, because they're much more profound and much more natural and simple and human than people would imagine them to be. The reason people who are spiritual spend their time alone, they're self-effacing, they're kind, they're gentle, they're very, very hidden purposefully. Not that they wouldn't give you their heart and soul and their shoes and socks, but that the world that seems to be, to the people who live here, is one massive confusion after another. It's called hell, the world to all spiritual people who've ever lived. Listen to this closely, because you don't get it in your everyday vernacular. It's like the world to all spiritual people in the world today, the world is a hell. It's a materialistic plane that's not included in the experience of your spiritual sensibilities. In spirituality, they talk about not being tempted or not wanting or needing it. And that's not that you don't live your life, you don't care, but you care in a much more profound sense. If you're in love, you don't want anything from your love. You're just there. Like the man who is protecting the household, he's laying back watching TV all day and his wife yells, and he's simply conserving energy, ready to pounce and protect the perimeter of the household. That's in a genetic sense, but in a spiritual sense, when you transfix, when you transcend the whole world spiritually, you only want to get up and do what is needed when it's needed for a specific purpose that should be spiritual. I hope this is making sense so far, because if not, in 5 minutes it will. The powers mean that you transcend your everyday life. You have healing powers. You have the gift of understanding people, of commiserating with them, of being compassionate, and never in a pedantic way. You're never telling people what to do. People feel that you're with them. I wrote a little article for martial arts teachers many years ago called With You. You can tell if your instructor's with you. Like my buddy Gerber here, he's with his clients teaching, whether it's boxing or personal training or whatever it is, he's completely with them, so they love him, and he makes a pretty good living here by being genuine. And spiritual is something even transcendent of that. Gerber's that, but it's much more profound. You sit alone in your easy chair, and the temptations in the air in the whole world, I used to call it the dralas, anyway in Sanskrit, and they're like, if you're in a bar late at night and all of a sudden the energy changes and everyone's loud and the glasses are clinking and there's more energy, and it's like different civilizations that are passing through that are, now this occurs in every venue of life, but I think we're all familiar with this sense from our 20s. And it's just beings that the energy attracts them, so they're there. If you're spiritual, no energy attracts you. You're never here. I will speak for all us, the millions and millions of people who are spiritual. I have never been here in the world. I am not my body. You are not your body. You're not your problems. You're not the solution to your problems. You're made of something kinder than daylight and sweeter than the evening. It's called God. Most of all, it's called you. God is an infinite kindness, infinite, sublime, So you don't want or need, through all traditional religions, called temptation. Temptation simply, sin in the original Aramaic or Hebrew meant not God. In other words, anything that's not God, so you don't go there. And when you're not tempted, when you don't want or need, even an area of love, then you emotionally, psychologically let go of all your grasping onto anything, and all of a sudden something opens up. You're enveloped in this cloud of wonder, a simple kind of joy. You appreciate. If I think of all the people I love in my life right now, I can feel them all instantly. It doesn't matter if it's 10,000 or one, you can you just feel them because you appreciate. It's a different universe. You're in a spiritual plane of beingness. You're not your body again, or your problems or solution to your problems. And you appreciate, you care, you understand, because you don't want from someone, you appreciate. You look at a fine work of art, you appreciate it, you care about it, you become part of it. You become what you love. Spiritual love is transcendent of want or need. And it's a joy, a happiness, a thrill beyond all dreams. And the instant you feel it, which is what we're talking about today, the many different ways you can walk through the everyday mediocrity into this higher place, this plane of divine presence. It's always here. God has never stepped back from us. We step back from God. God will never, 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 never leave you. There is this infinite presence. You could call it infinitely innocent and childlike, and it is, or He is, but it's also God. I mean, you don't want or need, and you see that, it's such a profound life change. And you'll see all the spaces between your want and your need, your daily work. You'll see your different lifetimes. If you're here now, then it means you've had a series of lifetimes that have put you on this trajectory so that you could learn the language of this plane, which is hell. This is a hell. So you gave up your place in divinity. Honestly, truly mean this. When you're spiritual, to be here and experience what everyone in this particular hell experiences, and during this time here, you'll learn the language, you'll learn how to communicate with people that are lost. And today is a day of illumination and empowerment where you remember why you're here and what you did. And it's my job to remind you of what you've done and how great you are and remarkable and courageous as a spiritual presence. To have given up your place in this infinite purity and to be bound about by all these daily confusions. They're not meant to be. This is a hell, and when you transcend through it, it's gone. It disappears in your psyche. You drive down to the ocean alone in your car, you have some nice music, or you just appreciate the trees, the skyline, and the daily, whatever grabs on you is gone. It lifts from you, the conditioning. All of my life, I've had people come over in my living room or whatever I'd be, and I'd count back from 100 to 90, and at which point I'd say, at that point, you're going to be absolutely quiet and peaceful. And you're going to, which will elicit from you, you'll describe all the circumstances of your life that are tied you up. And then they'll do that. They will always, when you do this with a friend, they'll always go into a deep state. As long as you don't want anything from it, it's always for them. Like I wrote that little article called With You. You have to be with the person for them, like Gerber. You want them to improve. So you can't interject anything. You're just there and you trust their soul to uninvolve themselves from their difficulties. And we're all spiritual beings. So the power of God will be with you every time you ever do this. The power of God will be with you every time you ever do this. You just remember that you're here for a reason, that you're not your body, that you're not your problems or your circumstance, and these things will dissipate. They'll disappear in a few short months. And the main reason is you'll know that God himself will be with you every moment of every day, every second. Every trillionth of a second, God will be with you. And all of your difficulties will rise like steam up off of you and disappear. And you'll be lighter than air. And then you will rise and remember your place in heaven, which is here now. Talking about the gifts and powers again. People think the gifts and powers, I do this and I can fight some person over there, or some energy from the netherworld or Satan. All those things exist, but you don't fight them. You fight the everyday circumstance, which is the illusion. And when you step through it, all your difficulties will just fall away. There's nothing for them to hold on to. It's an illusion, a mirage. So whatever it takes, I said, driving to the ocean, listen to the music. Maybe on a Friday night you have a beer. Whatever that, but your daily meditation will be from dawn to dawn. Make sense? It's not, that's your temple. That's your religion. That's your church. It's heaven itself. There's this openness that we have. We simply have to conceive individually for ourselves what these spaces will be. There's something called feng shui, where it's communication between people and more elegant energies about life and presences. You'll see the monk in the temples in the Orient always walking clockwise around the temple or sweeping clockwise, and that will tighten the energy up. And if you think about and do that, you'll feel that. And if you go this way, it'll open it up. If you just touch your friends a little, you don't have to be there. If I have my friend, I'll think of someone in a hospital now, and I turn this energy, I'm imagining her there, and I can see her there, because I am clairvoyant and psychic like we all are. We all sense everything. But it's nothing to sense an individual's psychic energy or mental energy, but I'm talking about transcendent of that by infinity, divine presence energy. And that's what you have, that's what you're born with, that's what you gave up to be here. Please remember, you're not an ordinary mortal. You're a spiritual presence. You're here for a time to release the whole world from its trauma. So it's not an individual episodic theme here. Enlightenment involves uninvolving the entirety of the world that seems to be from all of its trauma whatsoever forever. When you understand this, it seems like a very high teaching, and I thought it's not. This is what illumination is. When you're enlightened, you become one with God. It's not something else. So you'll set up your room, you'll use these energies. There are so many thousands of self-enhancement or spiritual enhancement techniques that all work when we employ them. And it's an individual work. We're very circumspect about it. You can't tell people that you're talking to God all day, but you're talking to God all day. But God is an infinite subtlety and simplicity and kindness. And it's you. You are what you love and honor and respect. In the old scripture it said, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one." The first commandment, to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and all thy might and all thy mind. And it means, it's not a commandment, it's a commandment it's always the spiritual presence and energy of it. It's not humiliation, it's humility. Humility is godlike, it's wonderful. It's looking in the face of a child of innocence. Your puppy, it's there for you, it just wants to please you. And that's all God wants from us. But you are God's hero if you're spiritual and you're incarnate in the world today, your job is to illuminate your soul. Not that you aren't, not that you weren't, but to realize you came here and gave that up. Look what a magnificent soul you are. Look how remarkable you are. And all of you who are spiritual understand these words. There's nothing wrong with you. There's everything right with you. You're clairvoyant to God, not to other people. It's easy to be psychic to other people. His thoughts, he wants this or that. That's like looking at amoebas through a microscope. But look at heaven through a macroscope. It's just a wonder and a dream. More than anything, it's you. It's your presence. You are your presence. You are a spiritual being. You've never not been. So you practice this presence. You figure out ways to change the energies in your life so that you're not conditioned. You decondition all of your senses and you'll walk through the madness. I have never felt anything is solid or real. When I sit in my chair, I can sit there for 3 days or 3 hours or 30 seconds and it's not here. And then I have to deal with something of the world and it always amazes me. And then if I have to talk about something material, I got called to a bank yesterday in the middle of this, and it was enormous. It was fun. So because what I call the teachers, you can call angels, took over everything, and it seemed like 30 seconds I was in another city, and all the banking was done, and back again home, and laughing at what a amazing world it was, because all the people I dealt with, and I stopped with my buddy at a Starbucks on the way out, and it was, the people were so lost. I could never even imagine it, because I give everything. And for people to be so lost and not even feel that is truly lost, but I didn't feel they had souls. And there are many people in the world like that. And that's not a good or bad thing. I care and I love everyone, but they're part of that mirage. People like that I've known in my life, I make it a goal to see them here and there and bring them up a little bit at a time. And a third of the time that happens. The other times I always make a friend, but point is you can change and transfer anything, anyone, any place, any presence. I can walk into a building and change, make everyone happy if I choose. And when you're early on, you use your powers in this way just to enlighten, to lift, to care, to love, to heal. And then at a point you'll see that, oh my God, this world really doesn't want God, and it really is a hell, and it really is an illusion, and that's okay. And you transcend that. You realize your own need to help everyone. You can only help that which is spiritual. I hope this is making sense so far. So we do whatever we individually decide to do to change any area of our life. It's like leaving a job or changing employment or a relationship. It's a lot to go through. You might have lived in an apartment for 9 years and didn't like it one bit. And yet when you leave, your heart's broken. Why? Because you're a spiritual being and you scattered many different parts of your heart during those years and trying to lift it, to bring it up. Right? So all of us are heart people, soul people, God people, and we know them. So we can change not just anything, but everything. This force that owns the world called the devil, Mephistopheles, all these names, the sociopaths, that the world is the energy of it. If you don't react to it all, then all the good people will see you and be healed in your presence. I'll use myself. I can walk in any public place and people will at some point say something very remarkable to me, how nice it was, the presence or whatever, and I'm always shocked because I'm nothing and nobody, and we all feel that way, and that's part of our problem, and that's what the devil uses to distort our reality. So you have to know have this ability and power, and at the same time, we're nobody. It's very interesting, isn't it? It's fascinating. It's deep. It's profound. It's spiritual. Because all that we are is spiritual. We are a presence. Divine and true and permanent and perfect. You can look out right now and see the heavens, can't you? The beauteous winds through it. A sublime sense of eternal reality and peace and quiet and joy. There's a simplicity and yet a depth to it. A purity and yet it's profound, it's sublime. And you're amazed by it and awe of it. And yet it is you. It's your own presence. I've seen God so every day of my life. They're all, I can't explain. I'm saying for all of us who are spiritual, because we never have the opportunity. First of all, because no one listens. No one truly listens. If I talk to anyone about anything for the last 40 years, well, I'm watching their thoughts. They're thinking about the words I'm saying rather than, so I just shut up. And yet I'm very well read, very aware, very intelligent, very capable. But unless I run there with a friend of mine who's an engineer, we'll say it at my buddy's place, and because I'm sure socio-politically we think everything differently, and yet we share these different books about science and diving and whatever, anything. And we love him because he's a scientist, or he's an engineer, but a genius, and we can talk about certain realities that are, we have no charge on it. You know what I mean? If you have charge on your emotions, that's the conditioning. So if someone their minds are conditioned, if you, like for me, if I listen to people and have them repeat what's bothering them, also like in the beginning, tell me 10 things that are bothering you, great. And I don't react to my hairline. So after they get it out and they feel they can safely express these things, they feel their own natural presence come back, and then I'll ask them, what are 3 good qualities you have as a human being? They'll say, well, I'm kind, I'm decent, I'm fair, thank you. And then all of a sudden their identity is back. So you use these different things that are part of your powers, your gifts spiritually. And they get very, very, very highfalutin. They get, if you read like the Tibetan Book of the Dead when I was a child, the Evans Wentz translation, these things they are elegant. A lot of these classes I try to start in a very high plane because that's what I worked on all my life, and then I realized we have to make it much more basic to be understood and much more relevant to our everyday life, but it's all the same experience. There's one God. Hear, O Israel, the Lord God is one. And that's a profound statement. Why is it profound? I've studied Eastern religions for 50 years, and I've never been a seeker for any religion. I've had this experience of divinity from a child, and everyone in this room has. I'm simply pointing out the fact that we have to identify this more clearly, and then we'll stop being tossed up and back and to and fro by this dark force that keeps us attenuated to every little feeling we have and tries to make us feel less and make the world real. Last week we called it Satan's Casino. We talked about a book called Time on Device. All these things are set up to keep you involved, and then you use your gifts and powers to not care, to not want, to not need. And when you're there, you're very powerful. When you really appreciate and enjoy, you'll find friends, your friends of old, the ancient ones, will be with you every moment of every day. Got my friend Frida Beatty here from a long time ago, and when you let go of want or need, and this doesn't make you stiff and uptight, and I don't want it doesn't make you like an old person. It makes you sublimely aware, and then you can really help, really care, really heal, really teach, really instruct, really coach, really empower, really be a friend of those that we love. And we won't let go of them until we discorrupt them and charge them full with the charge of the soul. And that's what's being said. We wake from this dream, from this long sleep. We have all the grace of God with us, around us, through us, and it's a presence. It's simpler than air, and it's more refined than our air or our breathing. If you're working out or you're doing something hard, you just watch your breathing and just relax your breathing while you're doing anything. You'll get, oh my God, that's much easier to do this, and you won't tire yourself out. And then if you're spiritual, you watch through your breathing. And you're in this openness, this spacious, endless, it's called God. And again, it's called you. You have to identify with this. Not that I'm God. I'm God is, you're always in awe. This stuff is deeply, deeply serious. And everything else in the world is a lie. They call it Mephistopheles, they call it the father of lies, whatever. It means that it's all a mistaken consciousness. You don't react to it. You're not tempted means you're not fighting temptations. You don't want it or need it. And when you disengage, it'll drop. It'll just drop. There is a God. You are God's reflection in a darkened place and time. You will overcome the whole world. And it's in consciousness. It's not just the natural sense of oneness you get walk in nature, which is one of the gifts where you walk through and then you realize this openness is there. You find out different ways to beautify your existence and around you, and the walls will no longer be, they won't be solid. You'll always look through them. I have never not, I have to say this because it works, not felt this presence. It would be impossible for me. I'm speaking for all of us who are spiritual because we never get to say that because we're contrite, we care, we're always with the person we're with. We want them to take the next step into the sunlight. That's what it's about. That's what spirituality decrees. That we heal, we help, we lift, we empower, we care, we heal, we coach, teach, love, honor. We'll do anything for our Father God, won't we? There's nothing we won't do. The truth of it is that it's involved in consciousness. Excuse that word, but it's the only one I know that depicts this openness, this where the air is so electrifying and alive and ecstatic. It's an ecstasy that can't be dreamt or imagined unless you feel it. You can get high, you can be happy, you can get married and be thrilled, and yet there's something beyond all of this. There's a place without want or need or desire or decay. It's the end of suffering. It's the remembrance of you, of who you were before time was, before churches saw light, before names were named, before anything was. You were this beatific presence. We're here for a short time to end the sense of time. In Revelations 10 it said that there be time no longer, that the mystery of God should be finished. In other words, the sense of time, it's when you're spiritual, you read the different spiritual or religious texts, you'll look right through everything, literature, books, people's conversations, every energy you feel, you'll understand. And if there are people to be lifted, you'll know exactly, it's extraordinary exactly what to say and how to be, and they'll never really understand how truly contrite you are. You walk with God looking through your eyes, feeling through your senses. So God can handle being with us and living through all of this, with all of us all the time. We individually should be able to empower ourselves to at least give that much back to our Holy Father, our Holy God, our Holy Soul. There's one soul, one God. And He's a great God. And you, my friend, are a great soul. Don't let the devil demean you any longer. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate your listening.